Yesterday, within the world of gaming and Battlefield in general, we received a lot of information around senior figures within DICE leaving the company to go on to new adventures. Now, one of those big names is Oscar Gabrielson, who is, of course, the general manager of DICE. And you've probably seen him on a couple of interviews on E3, Gamescom, etc., talking about Battlefield. And he is, of course, leaving the business very, very soon. This also means that Respawn's Vince Zampella is now taking on more responsibility in his current role, overseeing the Battlefield franchise as a whole as well. And also, interesting fact, Marcus Leto, who actually designed the Master Chief from Halo 1 or Combat Evolved, is actually building a brand new development team within DICE based in Seattle, focused on injecting more storytelling into the Battlefield universe. And even within the article we're going to discuss today, there may have been a hint at a Battle Royale coming to Battlefield 2042 in the next couple of months, which is pretty crazy. Guys, don't go anywhere. We have a lot to talk about in this video, a lot to get you up to date on. Let's get straight into it. Hey guys, and welcome. Yesterday we got some breaking news from Battlefield DICE themselves, basically stating that the Battlefield universe is going to now exist rather than the games just being segmented. Now, of course, in the last few Battlefield titles, we've had World War I, World War II, and then, of course, we've had the modern Battlefield 2042, and then dating all the way back, obviously the modern shooters like Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. But again, none of them really expanded on one another. None of the stories within those games really linked onto another one. I suppose you can say the Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 did, but past that, there wasn't really anything that linked those games together. However, in Battlefield 2042, this is the first one since Battlefield 4 that they've actually carried on the story. And of course, Battlefield 2042 story is a continuation of Battlefield 4. We've done loads of lore videos on the channel, so if you guys are interested and you don't know what it is at the moment, make sure you go back and check it out. I'll leave one in the description down below. From Battlefield 2042 onwards, this basically means that all of the new games coming out are going to link together, and the story is going to rather coexist in either games, or it's going to carry on from 2042 to maybe the next game, and whichever that might be. And the great thing about this as well is that Marcus Leto is essentially the project lead in doing this, or the studio head of this particular studio that's being created within Seattle, which is being overlooked a little bit here. You've got to take into account that Marcus Leto was one of the main guys to design Halo Combat Evolved, which is by far one of the best ever games ever created in general. Not even to mention that it was miles ahead of its time. The storyline is absolutely outstanding in Halo, from the first game until the last game. The story, they link all together really, really well. The expanded universe of Halo is just so sick. And to have Marcus Leto on board with that as well, and to take that knowledge into Battlefield, we've got a lot to look forward to. As we already mentioned, Marcus Leto has essentially been tasked by EA or DICE to go and create this brand new studio in Seattle to carry the storyline forward within Battlefield. Again, speaking more on the Battlefield side, this is huge for Battlefield fans in general, and it's a great step in the right direction for the franchise as well. Again, it's a great way to keep the fans engaged long term, and of course gets them excited for the next part of the overall story. If the story is really engaging and it leaves you on a cliffhanger for season 1, when season 2 comes around, people are going to jump back on and want to know what happens. It's the art of storytelling, and I'm all for it if it comes to Battlefield. Of course, this will mean that the Battlefield 2042 story will expand greatly over time. Again, not just spanning across Hazard Zone, but also a new mode, which is of course aimed at the forefront of the storytelling and narrative for Battlefield 2042, which I found really interesting. Of course, in the leaks that we received when the game was first started to be leaked by different industry insiders, we initially heard that Hazard Zone was going to be at the forefront of the storyline in the Battlefield 2042, but now, could that have slightly changed? Could they be developing a brand new mode to further enhance the storytelling within the Battlefield? I mean, it would be pretty sick if they did, but again, it's kind of expected, and it's a good move for them to do that, because again, Hazard Zone isn't the game mode that we expected, and I think we can all say that confidently right now. I think that with the underwhelming reception of Hazard Zone, the team's kind of accepted that this mode can't really carry the franchise on its back, and of course alongside that, tell a gripping story, just because the mode is so limited. I thought the concept of Hazard Zone was amazing, but the execution was quite poor in my opinion. So this got me thinking about this brand new experience they've been mentioning, and I want to quote what EA or DICE have said in their article they posted about this new mode, which again gets you thinking about it. So here it is. Another big move. Battlefield 2042 Portal developer Ripple Effect will continue to support Portal whilst they get to work on a new experience in the Battlefield 2042 universe. Ripple Effect boss Christian Grass told GameSpot that he's unable to comment on what Ripple Effect are developing outside of Portal at this time. Again, this got me thinking even further after I'd read this. Like, with the success of Warzone and the story which Warzone has told, linking Call of Duty universes together for the first time, with Black Ops Cold War linking together with the Modern Warfare story, linking together with previous Modern Warfare stories in there as well. Like, it was really interesting to see how they would do that, how they molded them together. And I'm thinking maybe a similar approach is going to take place in Battlefield 2042. Maybe some of the events or war stories from Battlefield 1 could represent some things that happened in Battlefield 2042. Like, it could be a possibility and they could link together. Or, for example, with Battlefield 3, some of the antagonists could also have some relevance in Battlefield 2042 down the line in the story. It could be relevant. We don't know yet, but again, it just shows the possibility of connecting these universes together, and I just think it's really, really interesting. With Battlefield and DICE going down the Battle Royale route already, of course, with Firestorm, which, you know, in essence was a bit of a failure due to being locked behind a $50 or $60 paywall, it was never really the right approach to do it, and I think DICE know that. Whereas doing it for free, that would be the way forward. And of course, if you remember back to a couple of months ago when we were first talking about the leaks and things on Battlefield 2042, there was always that one leak that stated that 2042 would have its own free-to-play element in the game of some kind. No details were shared around what that could be. Maybe it is a Battle Royale. Maybe it's something completely different. Again, we don't really know. Hazard Zone was leaked to be something completely different to what it was really. Another evolution of that will be making its way out. And maybe they won't be going down the generic Battle Royale route. I mean, we don't know, man. I mean, there could be a full-on looter shooter that comes out from Battlefield, same engine, everything like that, where you can loot people, a dedicated map as well, and a Tarkov base mode, basically just a non-hardcore version. I still think that would be an absolute win for Battlefield if they did that, because the game suits it so much. The gameplay suits that sort of style, especially if they made a map for it with close encounters, doorways, stairs, play more tactical, long-range shots, loads of bushes, covers, things along those lines. I think it would be so good, but I don't know, man. I can't see it happening. I think they will go down the free-to-play Battle Royale route because, again, obviously just look at the success of Warzone. On to another story. It's a bit of a short story to cover today, but I thought it'd be interesting to bring it up alongside this as well. Again, there was an EA town hall a couple of weeks ago, and it was mentioned within that town hall, which was interesting, and no one really picked up on it from that point, was that 2042 is the foundation of all going forward for the Battlefield universe. And of course, this comment is most likely referring to Portal and Hazard Zone, and maybe those modes over time will evolve massively, which would be great if they did. And again, this extra experience that we don't really know too much detail about yet could be, again, Battle Royale. That could be where the universe sits. And then obviously around that, similar to Call of Duty, they release their premium titles every now and then. Again, it's a possibility, but yeah, it's one to think about. The next story to go into today, there's a couple of little bits that I wanted to add in there. I thought were kind of interesting. I thought that some people might want to know about it, so I'm going to put it in towards near the end of the video. But again, the next story is around a few things in Battlefield 2042, like sales, popular specialists in the game that people are using over others, and some things that are quite interesting just to look at retrospectively. So the week 1 sales within Battlefield 2042. These are really interesting. So I've now documented all of the Battlefield games and of course their sales in chronological order. So Battlefield 3 sold 4.68 million copies. Battlefield 2042 sold 4.23 million copies. Battlefield 1 3.46, Battlefield 4 2.59, Hardline 1.48, Bad Company 2 1.39, and Bad Company 1 0.44, so 440,000. It's interesting though, because again, with all of the bad press that Battlefield 2042's got, look how many copies have been sold since the first release, and this is week 1 sales, bearing in mind. This has probably gone up a lot by now, but again, this doesn't include returns and refunds. I know a lot of people in my comments have mentioned that they've refunded the game, or they've took it back, or they're just not going to play it. So this number could have drastically gone down after the first week, or got shot up. We don't really know. We don't have the full figures, but take that into account as well. Another thing I thought would be interesting to drop into this part of the video as well was all of the specialists and their popularity within games. So which players use which specialists the most. So it goes in order of 1 to 5. So the first is Sundance. Sundance is used the most in Battlefield 2042. The second is Angel. Third is Falk. The fourth is McKay, and the fifth is Casper. Pretty interesting. I'm more of a Casper guy. I love using Casper because the recon drone gets me loads of XP along with the proximity sensors as well. But again, interesting point to put in there as well. And then the final story of today is around Season 1 when it finally does drop in Battlefield 2042. Now, Season 1 will enable players to join parties more than 4 people. At the moment, it's secluded to just 4 members in one party. This will be increased to 8 players per party when Season 1 does launch. So again, if you have more than 4 friends, which most people do, you can actually play with all of your friends, or even play with subscribers or followers on Twitch or YouTube, whatever it might be. So yeah, that's also a really good point and thing to do as well. Also with this, we learned yesterday that new skins and vehicles and things along those lines for specialists will be coming into the game at some point, we believe around Season 1 or around the pre-season marks, maybe in a week or 2 from now. You don't just have to buy these, you can actually unlock these through a series of challenges, which we learned yesterday. Some of them a little bit questionable, but all around I think it's a really good idea from DICE to do this, and it gives you another element to grind for if a really cool skin comes into the game that you don't want to buy, but you can put a couple of hours or whatever it is into grinding these skins out, and then of course you get the one that you want. But yeah, not to mention of course there'll be a battle pass alongside this when Season 1 does finally drop as well, along with probably loads of store bundles that are going to flood the game too. So yeah, we have a lot more to come. But guys, that's all of the stories I wanted to mention today. Again, the first one is the main story around everyone, a load of people leaving and people coming in, and people's responsibilities changing within DICE and things along those lines. And the new studio working on potentially a new experience, which may be a battle royale. We don't know at this point, but again, really interesting, really interesting to talk about it. But let me know down below in the comments, guys, what you think of all of this. What do you think this new experience is? I think it may be a battle royale. I said this in a couple of months ago that there has to be a battle royale coming if they want to compete with Warzone, because again, free-to-play battle royales are the way forward at the moment. So if DICE wants to keep up with the trend, make a load of money, get player retention, they need to do something like this. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think down below. It'd be much appreciated if you can drop a like as well, and of course subscribe if you are brand new. Again, much appreciated. Have a good rest of your day, guys. See you all in the next one.